Hi, everyone. This is Miranda Ward with the Valuable Voices podcast. I have my friend Ken Forrester. I'm so excited for you guys to meet him. So trying to think of how we got connected. I think it was when I know I was moving insurance jobs. I just don't know which time. And I just remember being blown away with his technique of recruiting in the insurance world. And he just prepared me. I remember he talked about the quarterback and in the football game. And I was like, all right, I feel like he just prepared me to walk into that interview like, I got this. And it was just an awesome feeling of confidence. So thank you, Ken, for that. And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're in Florida. This is the first time we've actually been face to face. We've talked on the phone quite a bit. And actually, Ken reached out to me just last week, I think, and we just got done with him interviewing me. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like. But now I wanted Ken to be able to share whatever he felt like sharing. I know he's got a realty company down in Florida. So Ken, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, our company is called Vibe Realty. We are a boutique real estate agency. So we focus specifically on the residential real estate market in that respect. A lot of our clients are, believe it or not, coming from all over the country.
Okay.
For some strange reason, there's a lot of people looking to move to Florida. So
I was gonna say, so I should call you when I'm ready to move from Chicago.
Hey, don't wait till you retire.
All right.
We got pretty good income tax situation here. The weather is great all year round. Actually, I spent 24 years in Chicago, and I hated all 24 winters. Okay.
Yeah, I hear ya.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I made the move to Florida like over 20-something years ago, and I haven't looked back.
Okay. So, and you were awesome at recruiting. So I was shocked to hear that you moved to realty. So, being a realtor. So what kind of shifted there for you?
When I started on recruiting, that was in 1990. I don't know where you were back then, but the latest technology was the fax machine, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of cold calls. I actually started out recruiting actuaries.
Oh my.
And I was the rookie of the year, the first year, the top recruiter. And I really enjoyed it. Recruiting is something that, to be a black man in this country, recruiting was something where the color of your skin didn't really matter. Why? Because no one really saw me. It was everything was over the telephone.
Wow.
And which is kind of weird. After like maybe 28 years of doing this, I have not met anyone who I've placed over the years. I have not met anyone who hired anyone that I presented to them. And it has all been over the telephone. And as a result of being over the telephone, I've developed this sixth sense, if you will. I can see with my ears in that respect.
Wow.
So I felt at home being a recruiter, but I never forget this date. It was August 18, 2018. I collapsed in the parking lot of LA Fitness.
Wow.
Luckily, I asked a doctor, what happened, or how I survived, and he said, you got help in time, because I suffered complete respiratory and circulatory collapse. I had a blood clot that started out in my right leg, and it broke off and reclotted in both lungs. So I was there without oxygen for like 5 minutes or more in that respect. To me, that was the end of the world. I mean, I saw it coming. You see people.
Nothing said you weren't feeling good, nothing.
No, they can't figure out what caused it, why it was that diagnosed, or why I survived it.
Okay.
But as a result of that, I really couldn't talk. I talk for a living, and here I am. I could not talk. And if I spoke for any period of time, like maybe 5 minutes or so, I was out of breath. I would have to go take a nap in that respect. So I came on a Facebook group. I think it's for pulmonary embolism. And there were people in that group talking about the same situation, how it has affected them. And it's been years and they're still suffering from that. And, you know, I said to myself, well, you know, I have to find a way to come back in that respect, because, you know, when you suffer lung damage, I mean, it takes a lot out of you. I mean, it actually ages you in that respect. You know, so I explained it to my younger brother. He said, wow, it sounds like you got old.
Yeah, overnight. Goodness.
Yeah.
That had to be life-changing.
Oh, well, I felt my only way back was I had to redevelop myself. In other words, everything that I did, I had to change it. It's kind of like, you know, you develop a virus in your computer system or your hard drive in that respect. It's going to infect everything.
Sure.
So the memory is a big part of it. So now I have to develop new skills, new way of thinking. I'm, you know, totally different person in that respect.
Wow.
So during my recovery, I couldn't really talk. So my wife was in the real estate business. So I thought maybe I could use my skills to get her some leads.
Sure.
If
Yeah.
you will, because the areas that we live in, there's a lot of building going on. And that's when I discovered that you got to have a real estate license in order to participate in any activities in real estate. So that's where the transition came in. So as I got better and better, I evolved from being a recruiter into a real estate professional.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Thank you so much for asking.
And now you're doing this fun stuff online and interviewing other people. So again, you're kind of still using your voice and your recruiter, and, you know, I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. I like your introduction because I've never worked with a recruiter before, so I don't know what it's like, you know, from that perspective. But it's always good to, you know, hear that type of feedback. And just to think about it, the only reason I survived in this business, recruiting business, for such a long time, it's because of the people that I placed in position. You know, they evolve in their roles, and then they turn around and they need to hire someone. So I became the go-to guy. So
oh yeah,
for many years, my job was to introduce one person to another person, which resulted in a job. But the key to my success was I was able to put the person in a position where they felt pretty good about themselves.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
That's how they end up getting the job offer. They're not going to come in second, because I only get paid if they come in first.
Yeah.
So I try to get into a person's head and just try to make them believe in themselves and give them a track to run on in that respect. So,
and you did just that, because like I said, you kind of coached me exactly to believe in myself, because I probably didn't feel adequate for the job. I know I was in the company I was with prior for 8.5 years. So I was hadn't interviewed for years. So I didn't really remember how to. And I just loved, being coached by you. And then I called you again when I was going to my next job. And I referred a lot of people to you because your niche was really in my field, of course. So, I mean, I confidently said, call this guy. So I don't know who I'm going to tell him to call now, but I guess I'll just tell him to move to Florida.
Well, something about you, which you may not realize, you are someone who did a lot of listening. You were not argumentative. You didn't have a lot of attitude. I want this, I want that. It's kind of like you knew what you wanted. In fact, if I could recall, I think you were coming out of AN. I can't remember what organization that was. But it sounds like you just didn't like being in that big company environment.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that's what I remember.
Yeah.
And you followed instructions well, and you executed. So.
Yeah. Well, it was like free coaching, you know. It was great.
Wow. That was like it was 2010, maybe. That's a long time. Or more.
Yes, because I was at AN Consulting.
10 years ago.
And again, I had my babies there. I grew up, you know, I had my maternity leaves, but I just felt, you know, again, we were just talking about this on the prior call. I just felt like there was more. I felt like almost like a leveling up, or like I got to try something different, you know?
Mm, mm, mm. So I guess that side of you is still there, obviously, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess it comes in circles. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I think so. It's like a cycle. You get to one and then you're like, okay, next, got to try something new here.
Yeah, yeah.
Love it.
Thanks for asking me about that situation because maybe a year ago, I could not have this conversation.
That is so hard to believe. I can't even believe that. So what else, what else have you changed in your life? I imagine you're changing a lot of things.
Oh, wow. Well, you start out, the most important thing I did, it was a start. I got off of social media
Yeah.
and I started unsubscribing to every email that came in
Yeah.
because I realized that it comes out of habit. You get into aspect of just looking at email. But what happens is after you unsubscribe to all the email, now it
All the
changes
noise is
everything.
gone.
That's right. And you realize you're not really missing anything.
Yeah.
And I stopped watching television. I don't do that anymore. I get off of social media. Just recently, I kind of came back. Um, the social media part was probably the toughest because
Yeah.
I was a LinkedIn type of guy. I was with LinkedIn when it's first started out in that respect.
Mm.
So I kind of grew with that. But
Mhm.
then when you find yourself in a position where you're actually on your back and you get on social media, you see people living their lives without you.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you died and life continues on. So I
Right.
could not go back in social media. So that was pretty tough for me.
Right. Well, again, it's about the voices you're listening to, right? How do you want to fill your mind with TV shows and, social media and emails that you don't care about? Like, no, you get to decide, I want to live my life this way. I'm going to make the choices to do that and unsubscribe. There's probably a lot of things I could unsubscribe from right now.
Yeah, well, turned out I was getting emails over the past 15 years. And it just became normal, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So if you take the initiative, okay, let me unsubscribe in this one, let me unsubscribe in this one, and
Yeah.
then you see how much time that you were missing out on in that respect.
Yeah. So
So now
has
I'm
your,
subscribing to new type of
yeah.
emails.
Well, and you
That
made a
respect.
major shift even from
Yeah.
industry to industry, right? So I imagine your inbox is probably quite different. But what about health habits and things like that? What did you change there?
Yeah. Yeah, you take a lot of things for granted because I always thought that if I worked out, that gave me the license to eat anything I wanted to in that respect. And it worked out pretty well until
Yeah.
that situation happened. But now that you're more focused on your health, you have to be more focused on what you eat. And that's the biggest thing. And one of the things that I really wasn't doing, I wasn't drinking a lot of water.
Yeah.
You don't know how valuable that really is, and it's
Hmm.
something they have to really force yourself to do. And so I'm drinking more water. I'm starting to get back into exercising,
Wow.
and yeah, but I know I'm not going to get back to 100% of what I was. In fact, I don't want to, get back.
Mm.
In fact, it is interesting. Um, I would not change the experience that I've had because I think it has made me a better person. In fact, make me look at life from a totally different perspective.
Sure.
Um, and it make you ask more questions because a lot of times you think you know something, you just assume it.
Hmm.
But it it's interesting. I was sitting in the hospital room and I looked out the window. I think it may be my second or third day there, and I saw people walking, and it was very puzzling to me. I was asking myself, well, how do they do that? It's like it was a different world.
Wow.
And I kept thinking that I'm going to have to get out there, and I wonder if I can walk. And when I was released from the hospital, it was in the middle of the summer. I thought I was on Mars. I didn't think I was going to make it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you basically have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, why do you
um,
say you don't want to get back to where you were health-wise?
Health-wise?
Yeah, didn't you say?
No, not health-wise, but the person that I was.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So because again, you kind of take things for granted.
Yeah.
You know, you realize that your life consists of just habits,
Yeah,
and you know it's so you're very unconscious to it. But when
absolutely.
you consciously have to develop new habits,
Mm-hmm.
then that changes you as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to see life from a totally different perspective. Um, the interesting part is that some people will try to take advantage of you, you know, when you're in that situation.
Wow.
And you know, how else will you know? I mean, the only reference you have is maybe what you see on television.
Sure.
You know, but when you're placed in that situation, um, yeah, you see a different side of people, because some
Wow.
people see this as an opportunity. How's that?
Uh-huh. Huh.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
I know
ask
this
you a
probably I
question.
know this probably blows your mind, because you know how often do you have these, you know, hear these type of stories or have these type of conversations.
I know it's mind-blowing to me. So I was gonna ask you and you decide how much you want to share, but how did you meet your wife and did your relationship with her change at all?
Oh, um, well, let me just backtrack with that one. Um, Being a man, you know, we think from a macho perspective. And that day, you know, when I was in the gym and realized that, you know, something's not right, it was those manly decisions that would have cost me my life. Okay, number one, because um, there was a girl sitting across from me working out or something like that. And the first thought was, well, maybe she could call the ambulance for me. And the thought that came to my mind was, nah, she probably think I'm coming on to her or something like that. so, so, so I'm not going to do that.
Oh
And
my gosh.
and number two, now I'm thinking about leaving the gym. Now I'm really in the stress, and I'm thinking that I can make it back home. And then I got to the parking lot. I knew it was a mistake. You know, again, the second chance, I could have asked for help, and I didn't.
Wow.
And so I knew it was out of option. And so I called my wife, because you know, you leave the home, you leave the house, you say, okay, I'll see you later, I'll be right back.
Sure.
You know, you do that without even thinking. But
Uh-huh.
then I realized that, oh my God, I'm not going to make it back home. You know, let me call her.
You called her before the ambulance?
And that's the third thing I did wrong.
I mean, that's very sweet, but hello.
Well, I called her to say goodbye.
Oh my gosh.
She needed to know. She needed to know what happened to me.
Wow.
And I told her, you know, I don't think I'm going to make it, and you know, I'm going to, you know, tell her goodbye. And immediately she said, I'm going to call the ambulance right away.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I'm thinking there, God, you know, she didn't even listen. I'm trying to tell her that, you know, the last conversation, and you know, she didn't listen to me. She called the ambulance. I said, what good is that going to do? Because by the time the ambulance get here, I'm going to be a dead man anyway.
Wow.
In that respect. And you know, um, what happened at that time, when you no longer, your body no longer has oxygen, you know, I used to get weaker and weaker. And I didn't realize how heavy my head was, because I couldn't keep it up. I was falling over. and the and a thought came to my mind was, well, maybe if I could just, you know, get some sleep, you know.
Wow.
And the minute I decided to do that, the phone rang, and it was someone from 911. And the first thing that the lady said was, "Don't go to sleep."
Really?
first thing, first thing she said, and that's when I
Was there a
realized that I
witness to all this?
what was that.
Was no one watching you or seeing you do that? Have go through all this?
No.
Wow.
I had gotten out of the gym, walked for the parking lot. The parking lot for my car was maybe like 50 feet. It seemed like it was 3 blocks away. You know?
Wow.
So so she called 911, and in my mind, I thought that's the reason why I didn't call them, because how long can you go without oxygen, you know? And luckily I looked up and I said, is that a flashing light? I said, is that the ambulance?
Wow.
And it was, but she got there before the ambulance did. So, you know, we lived too far. So,
Oh my goodness.
you know, so the lesson learned is
I
that, you
suppose.
know, don't blame them for not listening to you.
That is pretty funny when you think about it. Thank you for sharing all that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, how we met, it was like online dating before there was even online.
Really?
Yeah. But being a pro that I am on the telephone. I lived in Chicago. Someone introduced her to me in Florida, and you know, we started you know, a relationship over the telephone.
Very
And
cool.
that was back in the 90s. How's that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. And then that's why you moved, huh?
Well, I knew where I was moving to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was in the 90s, but
Wow. Very cool. I feel like I could talk to you all day. Thank you for jumping on here. That's just an amazing story. I won't forget it. And I hope somebody else out there, I don't know, whether it's just don't take people for granted or take care of your health, call the ambulance first, whatever message you get out of this. But thank you, Ken, for being on here. I want to put a link to Vibe Realty. Definitely check it out and just follow him on Facebook. He does some fun videos. So I'm looking forward to see what else you do.
thank you so much.
Thank you. So if you guys know anybody that should be on here, again, my heart is just to empower people to share their story, because everyone has a story, and just to listen to valuable voices. So thanks for checking in. Take care.
All righty.